better world? Are you blind or going blind and don't even know it? Two seemingly unrelated questions. Madam Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. Robert Emmons, PhD, who's done many research projects on gratitude, claims that gratitude has the power to change lives. In one such study, researchers went into a company and each person in the company was told to write down 3 gratitudes a day for 21 days. Each gratitude had to be new and it had to be specific. Now, if you're a participant in this study, at the end of 21 days, you've got a list of 63 things you're grateful for. That list alone is pretty impressive. But what's happening here is your brain is being rewired to look for the positive. Our brains are incredibly powerful, but all too often our brains have been trained to look for the negative. This study showed that you could take a pessimist that had always tested as a pessimist that probably had genes for pessimism, and at the end of 21 days, now tested as a low-level optimist. Great news, right? Stop the study there. They came back 6 months later to work with this same company again and found that those same people that originally tested as a pessimist had not returned to their original level of pessimism, but now tested as a low to mid-level optimist. They had trained their brains to look at life through a different lens. By changing their focus, they had changed their world. Once I was going blind, and I didn't even know it, because it came on slowly over time. So I couldn't tell what I was missing. I'm normally a pretty healthy guy, but 2005 was a rough year for me. I had colorectal cancer and I had this problem with my vision. Since I was going through cancer treatment and dealing with all that, I kind of ignored the vision issue for a while, but eventually it got to the point where I went to my eye doctor, who sent me to a retina specialist, who sent me to a doctor who specialized in the optic nerve. He did a series of tests, including a test for color blindness, and seemed to get concerned. He then sent me for a field of vision test, which brought on more concern. From there, I was referred to a neurosurgeon. After a series of MRIs and 2 surgeries to remove the pituitary tumor that was pushing on my optic nerves, I found myself in the neuro ward of St. Francis Hospital. Being in unfamiliar territory, it was hard for me to tell how much my vision had improved. But after several days, I was sent for the field of vision test again. Now, in this field of vision test, you're looking into this machine, and these lights are popping off and on, kind of like stars twinkling off in the distance. Some of them straight ahead, and some of them clear off in your periphery. I only made it about halfway through the test, and I started to cry. But I cried tears of joy, because I knew that I was seeing what I'd been missing. A few days after that, I was able to go home, and things got pretty interesting there because now I was in familiar territory. Things like, walked into the bathroom and I saw this bright pink towel in there that I had never seen before, even though my wife said we'd had it for over a year. They had me restricted from driving, but I thought, well, I'll just walk down to Casey's and get a cup of coffee. As I walked into Casey's, I was amazed by all the colors. The bright red banner across the top of the wall. And I walked down the candy aisle and all these colors just popping out at me like I'd never seen them before. And I couldn't help but think, is this how babies' eyes are when they first see those colors? It was just such a remarkable experience. There was a pond just outside of town that I'd been fishing at that time, so I got a ride out to the pond, and it wasn't about catching fish this time. I just took one ultralight pole with thin 4-pound monofilament line on it and a bright orange and white bobber. I stood on the edge of the pond and I cast it way out there, and I watched that bobber fly through the air and hit the water. But what amazed me even more than watching that bobber was watching that thin 4-pound monofilament line follow that bobber out there and then slowly float down and land on the water. And I cried again. I cried tears of joy because I was seeing what I'd been missing. Charles Swindoll, one of the great pastors and preachers of our time, said, joy doesn't make you grateful, gratitude makes you joyful. Joy follows gratitude. How can we justify being stressed and unhappy when we have so much to be grateful for? We can't. When we practice gratitude, our minds cannot justify being stressed and unhappy. We're happier and more positive. That affects our emotional life, our personal life, and even our careers. Are you blind or going blind and don't even know it? Blind to gratitude? Removing the tumor took the pressure off my optic nerves. Allowed me to see that thin 4-pound monofilament line. Allowed me to see colors again. Allowed me to see what I'd been missing. In that same way, practicing gratitude can allow you to see what you've been missing. Don't be blind to gratitude. Practice gratitude and change your world. Madam Contest Chair.